Peace, 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 peace. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Oh my gosh. Popping out, popping out, popping out. Whew. Let me shake this off. Greetings, 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 peace. Oh man. I'm gonna get the raw and authentic. Eye boogers and all. Might have a booger. Everything. Oh man. Let me just start it off by saying this, man. Well, I always start out by let's give an honor to source, the creator, most high, whatever your higher power is. Let's shout out to the big one. Shout out to you too. It's really just you. It's really you, man. Let me be the first to say, a lot of deep conversations I be having, not only just with myself, but a lot of deep self revelations, and oh my gosh, with people. You ever had a deep revelation right there? It's like is it? I'm thinking about is it? You remember that show Raven, when she had those like clairvoyance or psychic abilities, or just the ability to like see something before it happened in a way? But where I'm getting at is like more of this, like the clarity moment, deep clarity moment. You be like, oh man, I remember, or the clarity you get from years ago, and right in this, like, especially this portal that we in, if you want to call it that, like this spiritual awakening, this shift in humanity and consciousness. It's so much, whatever you want to call it. Some may call it, it's just different titles. Some may call it the end of the world, the return. It's so many things, like, to each their own. But where I'm getting at is this, like, on some raw, real, like, just raw shit, man. Like, there ain't no shortcuts out here, man. There ain't no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts, man. To you youngsters out here, there ain't no shortcuts to grow up. There ain't no shortcut. Let me tell you something. You cut a corner, and you best believe that the way that energy is gonna return, that corner that you cut or whatever it think you is, we think we getting by, and that the Most High don't see, nah, there ain't nobody out here that don't cut a corner that the Most High hasn't seen, that the divine hasn't seen. And the reason I say that is like, yo, most people don't talk about, it ain't even necessary to struggle. It's the mindset of, like, literally, like, having, like, consciously, rewire my fucking mind to even be like, bro, I remember 10, 20 years ago and such, I was like, bro, I was so fixated on trying to get some, unana, we're gonna call it that. Or just in my wounded state, to where I was just like so focused on things that really, it had its purpose, but it wasn't my purpose. Until I realized, like, knowing my purpose and knowing that my purpose is higher or above any relationship, any partnership, any family relations, or relatives, like that connection bigger than any connection that I have with people on a physical level. Like family relations, like when it comes to your mother, like having that connection where, this is your mother, but at the same moment, can I allow my purpose or what it is I'm here to do become the bigger picture than knowing that someone is not willing to grow and heal. Someone is not willing to see or take accountability and change. And so, same thing with a lot of us that are going through different transitions or changes right now. It's like, man, there are no shortcuts. If you really feel like you deserve and desire something, there are no shortcuts in this shit, bro. I'm sitting back like, bro, there are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts, man. And what I wanted to talk about in even in reference to that is like, you know, I'm currently creating another masterpiece. And man, it's challenging when you are an artist or creator or anything that, you know, I don't care if you're creating content, just anything in, you know, the patience, the emotions, there's so much shit you got to experience before you even, you know, not being so focused on the reward or on the receiving side. And sometimes the bigger picture in that for me is that even just getting the clarity of like, wow, like years ago I was in a whole nother position. Years ago I was out on the street. Years ago I was in a hotel. Years ago I was in a relationship where I was this close from probably doing something to where I could have ended up in jail. I could have ended up in, you know, could have had a baby by this person. You know, it's so many things where I was like, wow, like, hold on. That redirection was for protection. That rejection by this person, that rejection by this company, that job, anything was for my purpose. You know, there was something in there that I did not see. Something that we feel like, oh, you know, sometimes we think we may know it all. No, the Most High constantly reminds us like, no, I'm constantly trying to let you know, like, there's something bigger and there's something you don't see. And that's the beauty of a lot of what I've been just like literally getting deep revelation from even relationships, people, and so forth. Man, there are really no shortcuts, because again, what most people don't know about my journey, it's like what I am grateful for is that I'm not solely focused on, or my priority isn't the money. And the reason I love that about myself is that when it comes to my value and my self-worth, when I was in my wounded state, when I was overgiving, when I was in a place where I didn't see that value or see my value within that relationship, within that career or so forth. You know, this was my purpose, I felt, to really see the importance of balancing who it is I am or becoming, and going through the emotions, going through learning through the experiences, being able to see that this wasn't just for you. This was a bigger picture. That experience, that person was for you to learn more about you. Okay, you might have been on the giving end where you needed to see that your behavior, your actions wasn't the best. Okay, so now how do you approach it? Do you approach it differently? So I was just like, wow, having a more deep self-awareness around who it is as a man, the growth emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. I'm like, yo, one of the most challenging things about it is I spoke about, which this can be kind of like a part 3. It's not just about cutting corners or there's no shortcuts. It's to show people, I remind people, bro, no one is exempt from karma, meaning the lessons that we all came here to learn as individuals, on a soul level, whether you're a child up to adulthood. No one is exempt. No one is exempt from lessons. This is the school of life. No one is exempt from experiences. And so, my biggest thing that I'm grateful for is like, yo, had I like try to stay in something too long, like when was I gonna learn the lesson? Have you learned it? Can you see the lesson in where you are presently? Like, what is this teaching you? And one of the most deepest things, I'll go back like from childhood, just growing up to where I am presently, is the fact of like how much of a challenge it is to even now being so more self-aware of being in my own world and being happy in my own world, and finding out what I'm not, you know, what's not fulfilling, or what do I need to do to be more at a place internally where that reflects outwardly. And so one of the most challenging things that I came to share was like trying to even just be, if you want to use a word, positive, or influence of just authenticity, man, and how that is like so much of a fucking threat. It's like, oh, if I get on here, to the world, because I feel like the world has been so much in a wounded state, is that we have praised so much of others' suffering just to overlook our own. And if I'm on here constantly talking about, man, you won't believe what happened to me, da 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 da, or on social media, how so much drama and so much low frequency shit that's on the rise. Well, yeah, that's really exposing itself. I wouldn't say on the rise, but just for that purpose alone, like I'm on here like, man, which I don't mind, because the struggle is fucking real. But most people want to skip over the struggle, yo. Like, for me right now, it's like being so invested in the entrepreneurship and trying to be authentic. Like, I'm not looking for handouts, because this shit ain't for the faint of heart. When someone's trying to tell you, oh man, you should go work, or you should go do this, and you're straddling between like, well, the best outcome is that, this could happen, or the best, the worst outcome is that I have to start over again, or, it's really, man, I'm telling you, it's such a balance, because, you're living in a world where sometimes what the fuck do you do? What can you do? I mean, what do you do when the reality of like seeing a country or a place where the inflation is a thing, and you got people can't even like make ends meet, or just even how the monetary system again, or how the manipulation through how if this person has certain degrees and they get paid more if they don't, or sometimes even being overqualified, or even in a system where systematically like the manipulation, or even the colorism, the racism, and how certain people have access to this and certain people don't. This person, even when it comes to women and men, like women have more access to things and men don't, because naturally men are looked at as, naturally predatory or aggressive, and women naturally can have a rap sheet that's exude whatever the man has done. And naturally, because this is not attack, this is just actuality. It's just what it is. And it's not to say all, but that, I've just purposely seeing there are great and beautiful people, but I've just seen if you want to say the worst of the worst, or the wicked, or just malevolent aspect of people. Is it benevolent aspect of people? I'm just saying, like, I've seen certain things that people do. I'll be like, what? But again, in a country where, again, it's just naturally, because it can go both ways, but again, just from which I see through the systems that are falling now, like they purposely want to keep women on certain things, and then when they asking for more, again, it still goes back to like they get more support naturally than what men would do. But, and again, people think they're winning, but in reality, it's not really empowering women to step into their creative energy, or to honor their feminine aspect of who they are within, to exude that or express that in a masculine aspect in their actions. So it's a polarity to it all, but I'm just exposing the fact of like what people don't get down to when it comes to emotional intelligence, to really see like, yo, as a man, I've had to sit with women and, tell them like, look, in a country where you don't see at all the people that are so-called on a pedestal or idolized are people I don't know fucking nothing about. I don't know them personally. I don't know nothing about these athletes, celebrities. I don't know nothing about a lot of them personally. I don't know nothing about them. And it's just forcing our face when it comes to what they make. Like, that shit matters when, especially when you have grown up in environments where some environments you can come from certain, poverty, or you can come from places where just as a dark man, you're naturally just categorized as or stereotyped as, you know, good for nothing, devalued in every way, crucified in every way possible in the media, all throughout the world. And I've had talks with women that are lighter than me and darker. And I tell them, I'm like, you think you know what it is to be a man? You have no fucking idea. Because the thing about it is that I tell people, I was like, I know what it feels like to be attacked by my own women. And I know what it feels like to be attacked by women that are lighter than me. I know how it feels all across the board. It is not easy. It's something. I don't know what I did. It's not easy. It has become much better as I face myself, but it's not that easy as people make it perceived to be. Because there's so much deep programming. The people are looking through at the world from a wounded lens. Humanity is wounded. So when you're really crying out, people are so deep in their woundedness that when someone really crying out, like again, as me doing my healing arts, creating, talking about spirituality, you know, there's naturally this negative connotation towards it, or this wickedness and evil centered around it, something that's natural, something that's always been here and will always be energetically. You know, just me alone trying to, whether growing up in the community where I was, you know, young, just trying to make a positive influence or trying to change something. It's criticized, crucified, and attacked by people that look like you, because color don't make you kin, by society, by the media, and so forth. This shit is not for the faint heart. You really got, as a man, especially to men and young men, you have to learn to be self-aware or have a deep awareness of your world and who you are internally. This is how I'm able to speak about it unapologetically with no fear. Already, to some people it may sound crazy, already accepting a physical death in this. Like literally, I got this years ago, it says live as if you will die today. Some people, oh my gosh, they'll have scarcity around death because of so much programming around it. But y'all play video games or you watch movies all centered around this gory shit, or, you know, all these things that's programming you to be so violent, to be the opposite of what you naturally are, because you're so driven by that. So when someone finds himself or comes into himself and learns himself more deeply, to learn that, you know, at the same moment I can create, it's at the same moment I can destroy. And that's with my mouth, that's with my words, that's through my actions, that's through my thoughts and so forth. So, again, it's so much of just trying to be and just learning that the world may not ever accept me as I am, and being okay and at peace with that. Because walking this path, you know, having to experience what I had to experience, some may say it's lonely, but it's not even just lonely. It's just accepting that where you are is all there is. No matter what someone may come at you and attack you with, whether from the past or whether from their projections and so forth. We as men and young men that are healing, you know, because this shit isn't something that's pushed, then even so much of what you call the conscious or spiritual community and so forth. I've been in the audience, or I've been in the circles and certain things where I knew I had to learn myself that you got to go through this karmically, this lesson, to realize like these people aren't who they say they are. Just because they may look beautiful externally, just because they may talk and say all these things, you don't know the vices or spiritual warfare that they're going through. You know nothing about them. It's the same with anyone that's on platforms, even me. Honor your spirit of discernment when it comes to me. That's your truth. If you feel to accept not to receive this message, click off, come back to it, so forth. To each their own. What matters is you know that you matter and you walk in your truth. Because this shit is, I'm so honored and grateful, and I realize the dignity, the integrity, the self-respect, the self-improvement, empowerment, knowing thyself through all of this is the most vital thing you can ever be and become, and becoming and evolving through that. Because no one can come and give you your truth. So for someone can come and offer me whatever it is for not just a masterpiece, or come and offer me some type of knowledge or wisdom, or come and offer me something that they don't feel that I already, you know, in a let's say in a manipulative way. Because when I mean by elders, and then you got people that are growing old and those that are growing wiser, there's a difference. You know, because we're all planting seeds, we're all a student. That's the bigger picture, is remaining a student through it all. You know, holding on to your innocence, remaining childlike, but at the same time balancing that when you do get of age to adulthood, but still balancing that responsibility for yourself, and even being who you are, you know, through it all, through the emotions. So that's like been one of the most challenging things, is like, bro, trying to, wherever I am, be me. It ain't even about being positive, because I always tell y'all the battery has a negative and positive post. It's not even about being a certain thing. It's about really being me wherever I am. And in every place or wherever you go, environment, demographics, there's always going to be a part of you that, through the uncomfortability of how things shift, there's always going to be a part of you a version of you that in those layers of who you are and becoming, there's always going to be a version of you that needs to be healed, something that needs to be acknowledged, something that you're going to reflect on no matter what age you are. And in that process of that darkness of going within, there's going to be a version of you, a newer version, that's going to ask of you to change that mindset, to face that emotion, to stand in your power, to change your outer, well, all of that is going to help, be a support to change even your outer appearance. And in that's going to come with people falling away, because this new version of you, or these versions of you, yes, some may have in their mind of, just through that interaction or experience, but who you are internally matters, that you be true to you. That's the bigger thing I had to learn from all of this. Is like, even where externally, where I had to seem like I had to come up against, it's almost like the Mario thing aspect. It's like, how Mario had to face Bowser. It's like a battle of this villain, but in reality, that villain is you. So it's like, I'll give you an analogy. It's like growing up, I had relatives or certain people that, again, once you see it in the cultures in the past, these were niggas that, like, people that just, use, were honoring and praising, the drugs and, but niggas weren't telling us the consequences from that. Like, I wouldn't ever encourage, the youth to not be who they are, but at the same moment, you got to allow them to go through their experience, because I don't know their backstory. And then sometimes there's people in their life that have more of an impact on them than me. But I was grateful enough to be around it. And there were times where I was like in the mix of it, but I couldn't ever allow myself to be consumed by it. And that's anything. Like, that's a balance between anything, when you don't allow yourself to be so consumed by the fact of even what people say in their opinions. But there was, just through my experience, my karmic lessons, where you did have certain people like that were in a more encouraging and supportive and healthy complex. But I was naturally surrounded by men who, again, at that moment, younger, womanizing, using, and so forth. And so a part of unlearning that is one of the most challenging things, when you don't want to do that. When in the process of that, you've been called a hole, a bitch, weak, all types of things, just because you don't because it doesn't align with you. And even the most challenging thing is where the fucking support don't even come from those people who say they so-called love you the most, or even the communities, even the environments where you grow up in these cities or you grow up in these places and there is literally no genuine support. You know, that's from experience. That's one of the most challenging things, is to staying rooted in my truth, no matter who came up against me, whether it was a spouse, whether it was a partner, whether it was a business partner, relatives, and so forth. You know, with all the doubt, with all the criticism, with how you gonna do this, you ain't gonna be able to do that, you ain't got the money, you know, where their mind was so focused more on survival and money. You know, their belief systems, you know, their core values didn't reflect mine. And you know, in that process, you're grieving. You're like, bro, I still need to do what I need to do, no matter whether nobody sees, you know, likes it, accept it or not. In my world, I'm okay with it, no matter if you're okay with it or accept it in your world. Fuck it. And that's what it kind of had to get to that point where you're like, man, fuck it. No matter what they say, I'm going to still do me. Rain, sleet, or snow, sweat, no matter what, or even just on the street or not. I'm going to still love me through it all and love those versions of me. And when I reflect on that, that's one of the most challenging things that I learned I had to embrace, because through that, no one else knew the depths of who I really was, or knew the depths of my pain, or why it is I do what I do, why it is that I have the faith, why it is that I still continue to do, even when I don't, even through the struggle, even through the fact of, like, you know, not really having, you know, focus on where the money gonna come from or where the resources gonna come from. I just know that I'm already taken care of. You know, and it's, bro, I'm telling you now, that's the reward in itself. It's not about the money and the material stuff. The reward in itself is you've been given a gift and you're able to do things that others are not. You got people out here, and much love to people who are caretakers of kids that may not have all of their limbs, may not have their eyesight. You know, so many things that in this world you see them labeled as disabled or not able to do things, when they're just as gifted, when they may have heightened senses or in other parts where others may not know how to show up or certain things. And I've seen this firsthand. So the bigger picture from it all is that we've all been gifted with something, whether it be speaking, artistry, music, and so forth. And the old world wants you to believe that these people that they have put on these platforms, or that you see pushed in the media, really have substance and value. And in reality, if they're not pushing that narrative that you too have substance and value, and that you are worthy is just as much as they are in these positions, and let me tell you something, they all full of shit, and they know it, because they know what's coming to them, and it's already happened, because it's just what it is. That's why I don't get fooled by these people that's on here, that just because you see them with views, just because they're in this position and they're playing this role, we're all playing a role. And everybody's not who you think they are. It's just what it is. That's what's being exposed. It's the Aquarian age. It's the age of information. It's also the age of deception. You got people that are really good, that are really good and persuasive, but the light is here to illuminate all that. And that's the thing that cannot be hidden no more. And as people fade to the back, you're gonna realize, like, the ones that you thought, and this happened through eons and years, it's like there always comes a time where transition happens, where the ones that were here, the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. The last is just like when you look at kids and when you look at us. The kids, we're first. We may be the first to do something, or you may be the first to show them something just because they're younger, but they are coming up. It seems like they're last, but they're coming up, and eventually they should be the first to do something after we're no longer here. So, like, again, this shit ain't for the faint of heart. When you coming into the awareness of who you are, and you realizing, like, the support is not going to come from this person. Let me grieve over this. Let me cry and accept this. when you realize that a lot of the just a lot of things that you thought that was valuable was going to matter, and in reality it doesn't, if you don't know who you are through the process. And that's the thing about learning. That's the thing about the healing journey. It's like I said, I've been called so many things and probably will be, and so forth. But what I won't allow is people to think that they're going to have access to me, or the beauty of it is that I'm at a different level or different awareness now, to where even when someone's approach or certain things happen, my discernment, my awareness is much more heightened than what it was. So it's not about pushing no one to the side and saying, oh, I'm better than them. No, it's just a simple fact. Life will show you like why you needed to let that go, why you needed to realize, like, when you have a higher calling or a higher purpose or something that is asked of you to do something, then you're asking to be called for a different version of yourself that isn't familiar to people, familiar to the ones that only saw you through a certain lens or a wounded lens. And that's what a lot of us, the most challenging thing is that no matter where I go, I can return somewhere right now and I'm realizing, like, whether it's somebody from the past, someone I dated or something, and I'm realizing, like, wow, I see why the growth of myself or what I had to do was different, or I had to go through this, because I realized, like, this person is, it's nothing against them, no judgment. They're just still here. They're still doing the same thing, or their mindset is just, it doesn't serve me. That's just what it is. It's not personal, And if they say, oh, you think you're better, you're this and that. Yeah, I'm better at disciplining myself. I'm better at, like, not trying to fall into that trap or be consumed by, their emotions, their karma, their shit that don't have nothing to do with me. And that, like, that's the biggest challenge for a lot of people. And I realize even with me, it's like, it's certain things that actuality is like, you can't go around no more certain things where you can speak in certain places where people are not battling with their own inner conflict and shit, where people, they're, man, whew, I'm just, look, I'm honored to even share this. That's one of the most challenging things, is when you're trying to do something differently, when you're elevating and you're realizing, like, not just the people can't go with you, it's just the awareness around, like, it has to be what it is. And it's like, from a bird's eye view, you get to see it for what it is and not for what it could be. That's why I feel like we all get consumed in. And the world is changing now. It's like, I would love for people to encourage me to be more of who I am, and encourage you to be who they are. No, not letting school, all these things trying to determine who you are. What about you having the free will or the sovereignty to be who you are? And then that being a safe place, because it hasn't been a safe place to be who we are. Let's be fucking real, bro. When someone come along, when you look at the ancestors that came before us, even when, Malcolm got to his place, and then he realized when he traveled and he came back and he started to realize a bigger picture of, like, there were people that looked like him and so forth. That's when it really hit him. And that's when he was attacked, because the powers that used to be were more focused on keeping the division, keeping people in the dark, keeping people consumed by the lower nature, and not people really unifying. But this shit is already written, and it's unfolding divinely. It was already written on the walls. When you go to these places, when you start going to these temples and a lot of stuff, you'll realize, like, it was already called to these things to unfold the way it is. It was just a matter, of divine order, things being restored. We are being restored. I'm realizing that that's the deepest part of me. It's like the different layers of me. It's like, I grew up in environments I didn't see no fucking teamwork. Now sometimes a different part of us can be asking us, like, okay, not only do you need to learn about partnership with yourself, come into union with yourself, but when you in a relationship, a lot of us don't even know what a union is or partnership is. We going based off what we see, some shit on social media and all like that, and thinking that we got to base our life off that. That is not, bro, that's an illusion. That's where the confusion comes in, is when we actually think that, okay, I'm going to go off this, because I fall victim to that. Oh, I went and saw this, let me tell my partner, or let me tell this person about this. And in reality, it's still coming from that person's perception of things, how they perceive it. Even if through all of that, you can get some insight and some clarity, but you still are going to approach it in your own way. Your own way. Your own way, man. I told you, man, this has been one of the most challenging things, is like when I had to, not on just the artist, it's just like I'm realizing what I'm being restored with is the very things. When you are being restored from a soul level, when you are being healed, when you are healing, I'm going to leave y'all with this. When you are healing and coming into something, it's the external energy is really just going to reflect back what you've already faced within yourself. So meaning like, it don't surprise me the fact of like certain things I face within myself, and then seeing my mom or seeing somebody I know act out and project onto me their deep insecurities of things that I've already accepted and faced. So that right there is kind of like a aha moment, like, oh, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. If they don't like or accept it, I've already done it. So it's like a reminder, like, you're already exactly where you're supposed to be. Just breathe. Like, they're not supposed to get it. The vision wasn't given to them. The dream wasn't given to them. In the dream, they were shown that this person was orchestrating something that, oh, you wanted to deny it, but no. They wasn't for you. Certain things wasn't for you. There was a lot of things going. I brought you to it to bring you through it. So, man, I'm telling you, it's like, what was it? I was getting at, was it analogy? Man, come back to me. It was something I was about to leave y'all with. But basically, again, it's coming back to me. You know, I had this moment. Well, let me finish up on the, just again, growing up in these environments when you really, that's what it was. When you're being restored and healed, and when you're facing healing on your journey, when you come into your awakening, if it's called for you to do that, or when you come into who you know and so forth, sometimes you want to tell everybody everything, you want to let this so forth and so forth. Again, no one is called to do what you're doing. Again, even with that, their layer of pain or their traumas is never as deep as yours. Even their, or in their trauma is on certain levels, is you will never know the depths of it. They can verbalize it and tell you and all that, but one thing I had to accept, and this is for a lot of us on this journey, is that the beauty of facing things internally, or facing things that are generational curses, whatever you want to say it to be or express it to be. I've learned that what you are restored with is a sense of awareness that it's you that has to not only change it, but it's you to do it, not only do it differently, but that awareness is a gift. That discernment is a gift. So you can approach life differently than everybody else. So you can approach life much more intentional. And more so you can create Dharma. So you can create a Dharma path, not just for you. Look it up. Like I said, that's when I look at the demographics and even where I grew up in and where I'm at now, I just see the polarity. I'm asked of the divine to do something differently, to approach it differently. Through my pride, through my ego, through my laziness, through certain things, to still know how to, that creativity, that spark. Those things, again, where I realized, like, my mother and father, a lot of people don't even know me. And a lot of people are meeting me for the first time. And then even when you are on this journey, a lot of people are you reintroducing yourself to them. Shit, I'm had to reintroduce myself to me. What do you mean? Meaning that I've had to go within myself and the memories, the suppressed memories and the things that I have suppressed. I've had to face it. I've had to go to that 29, 14, 5, 6. The books that I've written are different parts of versions of me stemming from my childhood, stemming from my trauma. Those things never leave you. Trauma never leaves you. That's what suppressed emotions are, repressed emotions, things that are pushed down, things that we have pushed down for so long. And in that are also, through those repressed emotions and memories, are the great ones, are the things that, you know, are your gifts, are the things that will have kept you fucking alive and kept you balanced and joy. And what I mean is, like, those of you that, like, you kept been in a career, you've been doing so much, and then all of a sudden you come back to something you love, you just start singing out of nowhere. And naturally, a lot of you, because I come across a lot of women, or just, I'm like, yo, why you not singing, or why you not doing something with that? And sometimes Spirit will be like, you're there to remind them to plant that seed, then move on. Or sometimes it's to remind you to use your voice. And then you ain't got to be this big time singer. You can. One little thing I had is, I'll share with y'all, was beatbox. And I could just. Angles. But hey, it may sound corny to somebody else, but it's things that I've done as a child that never leave you. There's things that have been, you didn't just, like, I realized I didn't just inherit the curses of, as much as I inherit so-called generational curses, there are generational gifts. And the generational, again, I always tell people, when you look at the gift, and that's to when you come into that awareness. Sometimes you don't think that that's something valuable in that box, that's, you know, or it may not be as big. You know how you get the smallest thing or the biggest box, you're like, oh my gosh, what's in there? But depending on who the person is and how they value life, something small can be more valuable than something that comes in a bigger box. That's no different than people in relationships. It's like we all have this perspective or perception on life about, like, how things are supposed to be and how it's supposed to come, and, oh, I want this and I think I need that. But life will show your ass what you think you want and what really you need. I needed to go through those relationships. I needed to see my mom be the way she was. I needed to see my dad. I needed to see myself, most importantly. I needed to see who I was, the version of me when I was in that relationship. I needed to see that I didn't know my worth. I wanted that relationship to last, but I needed to see who I was. I needed to see where I wasn't valuing myself. I needed to go to that school. I needed to be in that experience. I needed to have that relationship. I needed that. I needed to go through that slump. I needed to hit rock bottom. I needed that. I needed it. Maybe not what I wanted, but source. When you have a higher calling, source is going to give you what you need to the depths of who you are, so you can go to the depths of who you are. So you can go to those versions of you that you forgot and left back, you know, the parts of you that your mama neglected. You needed to see that. You didn't want to talk to your mama again or your daddy, or you didn't want to do those things. You didn't want to leave that relationship, but you needed to. You know you needed to. Oh, here's another one. You didn't want to have a relationship with that person or have a child with that person. You didn't want it. You really didn't want to get married, but you needed to. Sometimes you are going to something you needed to see your worth in that marriage. Sometimes you can have that child by that person just so the divine can show you that your woundedness and why you even had that child. You was in love, or you were more, you were in love more with that person and the idea of that person and what they could be. You were more consumed, or you had your self-as attachments were more consumed by who that person could be, more than your own dependency to yourself or interdependency. Yeah, you needed that. Brother, sister, mama, whoever you are, you needed that. I needed to go through them ass whoopers. I needed to go through the physical abuse so I can talk about it today. I needed to go through to it sound wild, but I didn't want to be touched on young, but I needed to go through that to be touched on, so because I wouldn't be talking about it now. I wouldn't have the courage to talk about the fact of how I had sexual addictions from that shit. To where, that spirit of, that Jezebel, incubus, succubus spirit, look it up. How would I ever have acknowledged it, to call that spirit out for what it is? I needed to see those people that wouldn't support me. So I knew to support my fucking self, whether I had the money or not. I needed them not to support. Because then the divine showed me, look, not only will you have more, and I don't mean you're better, not better, you will have an abundance, but you will have an abundance in all areas where you will be able to pour into yourself. I needed to go through that so I could show you that you needed to pour into yourself. So you no longer will pour from an empty cup. So you can see see how sacred and important your energy is. Son, daughter, the Most High said, I needed you to go through that. Yes, it was painful, but I needed you to go through that. So you can see who you were. I needed you to go through that. You think I'm proud of that? That's even to the women that, at the hands of my own impulsiveness and abusive ways, where I didn't know who I was. I was lost. I was allowing alcohol, a lot of stuff to consume me. You needed to go through that so you can see your worth. I needed to go through the same thing where I was used and abused, whether childhood and so forth. You needed to go through the shit so you can see that it's you that's needed to break that generational chain and cycle in your lineage. I needed to go through that so I can break that for my lineage, for the men in my family. So if I have a son, then my son would know that spirit of all those things that I face generationally don't have to follow him and will have no power. He divinely protected and guided. So some of you women, you're needed to go through certain things just so you can see the power in yourself, the God within, the source within, the little girl that has been calling out. You needed to go through that molestation. I know that's tough to say, but you needed to go through that. I didn't say you didn't want to and you deserved it. No, not at all. But it was needed for you to see the bigger picture, to see how worthy you are of recovering from that, of being restored with love, of healing yourself, of healing your womb, so that your daughter doesn't have to experience that. So you can have that conversation and let her know, mommy went through this. And I'm telling you this so you don't have to go through this. It brings more of a deeper awareness to who you are, so you can know the importance of the divine, the emotional intelligence. So you can heal that matriarchal aspect of you and the patriarchal. So she can keep that going. So she can know, the daughter, so she can know the importance of who she is. Same thing with men. That's what I realized I was telling my partner. I was just telling, so I was like, look, it's certain things you don't get as a man, but it doesn't mean that we don't mirror back certain things or reflect back certain things. There's just certain things as men. This is what I want you women to know. There's certain things as men that we're doing, that we process things differently than y'all do. We're naturally focused analytically, through in a more masculine way in our minds, focus on things of the future, legacy, depending on where we are. Especially like in our early 30s, I believe, legacy, depending on where that man is, depending on if he's evolved or unevolved. We're naturally are going to be focused on things when it comes to that, and that's the thing about the reversing, the healing that's happening in reverse, where You know, we're having to see the deepest wounds of our mothers and daughters, so that we, those that are men that are in tune, that are chosen, that are elected, that are anointed to bring this awareness, we have to see not only what we were a part of, and so that be exposed. That's why I expose. It's like, you know, expressing myself, but at the same moment, because I have nothing to hide, is more so of like, the world is being exposed to the wounds of what not only our mothers have went through matriarchally, but also what the men have went through patriarchally, and how we all have been fucking enablers of dysfunction, woundedness, looping through the same fucking cycles. And then here are some of us as healers, as people who are spiritualists, whatever it is, you know, people that are coming into their awareness, like they're here to do it differently. And in that process, y'all will never know the depths of that. That's why a lot of us are a guiding light. And how do you see the light? There's darkness that surrounds it. There has to be darkness. So these people have to show their darkness. They have to show who they are. That's what the world is being purged of, is the exposure of how much the feminine within us all has been wounded, and the masculine, whether son, daughter, mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, great-grandmother, so forth. That's what things mean ancestrally. A lot of us are guiding lights for our fucking lineage. And when you're facing these things, it's not for the faint of heart. People will never get it. Why he's still doing this? Why he's still doing that? Because you don't realize that it's bigger than receiving something on a physical level or just monetary, that what y'all have been so programmed to believe. When some of us are here to restore the fucking peace within our lineage, from seeing so much of our mothers wounded, you as mothers restoring peace within your home, within your lineages, restoring healthy relationships that you never witnessed as a child. Some of you are here to rebuild, reconstruct, recreate, create, unlearn, relearn what it is to be a divine feminine, divine masculine, and or a woman that's of integrity, dignity, love, that honors her feminine and masculine attributes or aspects of herself within. Some of you are here to recover the emotional, from coming from emotional ignorance to emotional intelligence within your lineage. That's a part of honoring your intuition, honoring who you are within. Some of us as men, what we've seen, when nobody would never know the depths of what my patriarchal is and what I've seen, because they will never know my experiences. From going from a womanizer to be able to influencing or empowering women to love themselves and heal themselves. To tell women that we also learn what it is to womanize and to be used is because we saw that first. We saw our mothers use men. But you don't see manizing being, put out there to the world. It's about holding everyone accountable, because karma doesn't skip over nobody. No one is exempt. So again, a lot of you as women, you are called to restore and to dissect and to denounce the spirits that have been following your fucking family and your lineage for so many years. Whether that's through spiritual manipulation and deception, all those spirits of, those Jezebel spirits, a lot of things, whether it pertains to prostitution, whether it pertains to things financially, all those things internally. That's what's being restored within you. That's why it's so painful. That's why you're crying. That's why sometimes it doesn't make sense, love. But it will when you're consistent. We haven't seen consistent, healthy connections and relationships. Shit, we're just now being healthy and nurturing to ourselves as women and men, because we're all walking around this motherfucker wounded inside. Because our mama and dad and them still walking around wounded. They leaving the earth wounded. They leaving the world confused. They leaving the world still stuck in their ways. Again, a lot of us are the guiding light. And through that process, you will be attacked, but no weapon shall prosper. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. You are always divinely guided. Your steps are ordered. It's already written. Young men too. Learn a deeper awareness of who you are, what your patriarchal and what the men around you are doing and have done. I'm telling you, man, one of the most challenging things I had to accept is seeing how there was no fucking structure. One of the deepest things, I had a so-called stepfather, a man present, but the father that I wanted to be there, but the man that was needed to be there at the time, you know, as much as I needed my father to be there young, there was another man there, but at the same moment, it was needed. It was purposeful when I began to see the bigger picture to it. It's because I'm here to do it now. I realize I'm my own man. And in that, a lot of us as men have to accept that we may not ever grasp externally that father figure that we're seeking. And a lot of you women, I had to tell my sisters this. I said, the reason why y'all suffering and it reflects like your internal world or the femininity that y'all are so desperately trying to heal through is that a lot of you women and men, especially, I'm speaking to my women now, y'all haven't accepted that you will never, or probably the mother that you're seeking, or, you know, you're thinking that you feel like you want to have, may not ever be that in this lifetime. And that's when the healing really begins. That's for some of you. That's when the healing really begins, because you will realize you've had to mother yourself due to what your mother has went through, or due to the fact that she has neglected herself or abandoned her own emotions, abandoned her dreams, abandoned what it is she wants to do. And sometimes it's not even her fault. Sometimes she just so wounded that she can only see you through a wounded perspective. Same thing with fathers. A lot of us are either seeking mothers or fathers or something externally through whatever it is. And that reflects back even through a masculine principle and a feminine principle. We're trying to seek something because money in itself, and this is my perception of it, when you look at money or certain things that, again, when you go out, when you set yourself to do something, it's like it starts feminine first. It starts from within, like your intuition, or, you know, something in you, like, I'm going to go get this position or whatever it is. Okay, the action is a part of, that's the feminine aspect, but the action is a part of the masculine aspect. So, okay, yes, you obtain all this money and stuff, but you're still wounded, love. You're still, and then you see this portrayed to the world, you still see some of these women that use this money as an abusive mechanism, or it's as a tool to deprive themselves of really being fulfilled emotionally. So they gain all this external shit materialistically and are unfulfilled. They're not secure. So they think that this security comes in gaining all these things, and this is throughout humanity because of this is the program and what they've learned. But deep down have no sense of integrity, dignity, love for themselves. Because they've been masking themselves so long, that's their programming. So you are here to change that in your lineage. By living off less can be more for you. Why do you think all this shit is happening in humanity right now? It's shifting the mindset and the consciousness of how we even approach life. How I always would encourage our women to really realize, like, y'all are here to give birth to a new society, environment, demographics. Y'all are here to give birth to a new empire, a new way of living. And it happens through y'all. And men, we're just a reflection of that. You don't want men to hold y'all accountable? Why? Because that's why everybody's so fucking sensitive right now. Everybody's so sensitive right now. You know why? Because we never been in environments where we felt that our emotions were important. We never been in environments where we felt safe to even express it. So everything is triggering. How dare you say that? Why you say that? So naturally, again, if I don't address it and hold each other accountable, then who would I be? This is the feminine within me that's tired of this shit. That's the divine mother and masculine. I mean, divine feminine and masculine aspect. Things that you've heard me speak about. You want to change? That shit happen internally. It's okay to say you're not at peace with what's going on inside. I see it every day when I see, how a lot of mothers are so consumed by whether you have the ones that are stay-at-home moms, where it's driving them crazy because they have told themselves that this is a part of their life. This is their all be all. And now they're tired of it. Now they're walking away from marriages. Now they're tired of it because they haven't really poured into themselves. They realize that just because this man has went out here and made all this money and all this other stuff and blah, 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 that has nothing to do with their emotions or them being fulfilled internally, because they have blocked, or their intuition has been blocked, or they have denied their own fulfillment. This is what has been happening in society. And then guess who gets affected by that as well? The men who are perceived to go out here and do the same things to what? Give themselves, pour so much into these women and have nothing and receive no reciprocity. Because a lot of it is based off superficial shit. It's superficial. Things that have no substance and value. If you remove the money, if you remove even the aspects of sex or certain things from a lower state, if you remove certain things, people are faced to see themselves. People have to sit down with themselves and really talk about, what did you really go through in your childhood? Why do you really have issues with communication? Why don't you ever talk? Why don't you ever do this? So many things to where it's not about questioning them. It's really about getting to know them to the depths, because they never had it before. We as men, a lot of us never had that safe place. You're hearing it from me. And our women never had that safe place to really express, because the whole world has been in a wounded place. And now that we're trying to approach it holistically and through a healthy lens, then as you approach it that way, you're able to see the little boy and little girl and all these people that are crying out, even when they're masking, even when they're hiding behind their careers. I don't care where they are, what their status is. They're masking themselves. And even if they don't know it unconsciously, they're doing it. In some way, somehow, it'll trickle down. It'll happen from a lower state to a higher state, as above, so below, as within, so without. And that's the thing that's happening in reverse. It's like the very thing that has been happening up above, or, below, or as, within and so forth. It cannot be hidden anymore. How can we have peace or live amongst each other when people don't even want to they can't even stand themselves. They can't even be with themselves. How you want to live amongst people you can't even you don't even know how to be with yourself? We've been overly stimulated for hundreds of years. So long, overly stimulated by media, by this, overly distracted from ourselves. No one knows who they are. At a point, I didn't know what the fuck. Soon as this was removed, who was I really? Remove the sports. Remove the thing, and that's what's happening. Remove the very thing that has been fueling the division. Remove the verses. This person versus this. Once you this is a thing that y'all I'm so grateful that it's happening. All this versus shit, men versus women, sports. This person versus that person. If it ain't this against women, this against man. This person don't have this. All this versus shit, man. That's the biggest illusion that y'all are so confused by. Every time you find yourself trying to separate yourself, and I don't mean individually, I mean just the fact of you trying to separate yourself from the fact of like we're seeing the oneness in all of this, how we all playing a role in this shit, bro. And just as standing in something and being against something, being against the fact of people having their sovereignty and free will and being able to be who they are unapologetically and authentic, like I'm gonna be against that. I stand for justice in the spirit, in the divine. That's just what it is, and I'm gonna speak about it. That's just what it is. That's what the balance is being restored. When you're seeing so much pushed on people, humanity and so forth, for them to not even feel like they can feel secure and safe to be able to choose what it is they want to accept, eat, receive. Like, how do y'all not see that balance is being restored in this motherfucker, bro? That's just what it is. There's no other way. Whether people like it or not, once change comes, it comes through chaos. It comes through when something else is created. There are people that come along to disrupt things personally. That ain't right. That's not cool. That's not in alignment. And that's why naturally people just be in their element, to be who they are. Like, I don't gotta say nothing. But when I do, it's just what I'm called to do. Number one rule, what's it? 4 agreements. Never. It's not personal. It's just what it is. If it's in alignment, it's in alignment. If it's not, let it fly. But you're gonna do it. Do what you wish with it. But what's no one will do is twist what I've said. You can't twist what is in alignment, what represents fucking justice, divine justice at that. And again, this ain't for everybody. Everything is being exposed to my women. Everything is being exposed, not just from, this is where the accountability comes in. The exposure comes from you. As much as you know how we so used to calling everybody out for their stuff, the accountability comes in when you can expose yourself for what you've been doing and what you've been enabling. And the same thing goes for men too. Y'all got to realize y'all been enabling the same shit that women have been enabling. When we come right behind and even choose to go back and forth and debate with people. But once you level up, you realize like you debate with your equals. You don't argue. We can agree on something, but just because we disagree doesn't mean that you become my enemy or I just don't. No. We really don't know the meaning of what, like, we know what conditional love is. But when it comes to love, people don't, they say they love, but they don't really know what authenticity is. What's James Baldwin? I'm gonna leave y'all with this. He said, if I love you, I'm gonna make you conscious of the things you don't see. That's why I come and say what I say. It's the shit that y'all really don't see and ignore. And that's okay, because some of you choose not to see, some of you choose to just stay. That's okay too. Most importantly, it's for the ones that will come after. I don't care if it's millions or hundreds of millions that won't receive it, but at the same moment, that's beyond my control. Things are just happening as it should. Whether people want to accept it, embrace it, or not, it's bigger than you and I. So, y'all take care of yourself. Peace and blessings. Shalom.